Well over a decade since Toyota ditched its three-door RAV4, the SUV giant is back with this coupe-esque stunner, the CHR. Three-door in style, but five-door in reality. It's the most dramatic mainstream Toyota in forever. Its main aim is to beat off big selling rivals like Mazda's funky CX-3, but it also has Holden's facelifted Trax, Peugeot's re-engined 2008, and Suzuki's larger-nosed, turbo-boosted SCross to contend with. Does Toyota's chunk of fresh Wagyu beef have the sizzle to slay its fresh rivals? Now, if Toyota wants the CHR to be a sales success like pretty much the rest of its entire model range, then this is the car it has to beat, the Mazda CX-3. This car is such a fun car to drive. It's an encouraging car. The engine loves to rev, the handling's pointy, the steering's sharp, the seats are grippy, great steering wheel, really strong performance. There's so many things about the CX-3 that are great that it's no wonder it's the biggest seller in its class. However, they're both very different cars. The CHR is much more of a jacked up SUV, whereas the CX-3 is much more like a small wagon. You sit lower in the car with a lot better vision than the coupe-esque Toyota. It's not necessarily a big car, again, same like the Toyota, but people seem to like the amount of boot space and the amount of cabin room that the CX-3 offers. And it does have a slightly elevated driving position over the Mazda 2 that it's so very clearly based on. Same dashboard, same wheelbase, all that sort of stuff. There is an update coming that will try and address some of the mismatched damping issues, the tyre noise, some of the ride quality stuff about the CX-3, but we're hoping that it doesn't take away from the car that engagement, that fun to drive aspect that is such a strong part of Mazda's Zoom Zoom DNA. With this updated S-Cross, Suzuki has completely repositioned this car. No more all-wheel drive variants, and that is now totally left to the Vitara. But one thing this car has inherited from the Vitara is the 1.4 booster jet, and it's such a great engine. It's super sweet, excellent mid-range, excellent 6-speed automatic too, and the only car here to offer paddles. So in terms of performance, the S-Cross is an absolute winner. The thing is, it has quite a lot of tyre noise. Its tyres don't have that much grip to really capitalise on what the engine has, and it has this viscous steering that has become a Suzuki trademark. It's all gunky and sludgy around centre. It's not until you've got more than a quarter lock wound on that you can actually feel like it's connected, and you need to drive through that layer of muck to get to what this car is actually capable of. And it can be a really good handler. It just hasn't tied all of those things together. Unfortunately, what it's capped off with is that grille. That grille looks like it's from a Chinese knockoff. In fact, I think the Chinese knockoff of the S-Cross's grille will look better than the Suzuki version, and that's going to turn so many people off, and that's a real shame because this car is really quite likeable. Right, we are in Holden's facelifted Trax, and this car is the definition of a facelift in that everything that's changed is visual. It has a brand new front, wheels, tail light lenses, colours, a brand new dashboard, and all of that is really successful. The thing is, nothing else has changed. And unfortunately, for the ride and for the refinement, that's a bit of a problem. The engine is strong, much stronger than it used to be in a cruise, and revs out much more cleanly. And you know what? When you drive the absolute tyres off this car, it's really fun. But for much of the rest of the time, it's all a bit lumpy. And these seats in an LTZ, we're in the top model, and we have stitched leatherette, which is vinyl, and vinyl sucks in a modern car. Yesterday it was over 30 degrees, and sitting in this thing, even with aircon blasting, which isn't particularly strong, it was clammy, and I just find that really annoying. If you can hear that little thrum in the background, that's the 2008's new 1.2 turbo petrol triple, and we love it. If there was one thing that this car needed, it was a brand new drivetrain. That awful old 1.6 Atmo and 4-speed combo was just one of the world's most horrendous drivetrains. Thankfully, they're probably all lying at the bottom of Sydney Harbour, and instead we have this with a little Japanese 6-speed automatic. It's the sole drivetrain in this car now, no manual, but it doesn't matter. It gives this car this smooth elasticity, and the torquiness of it perfectly suits the suppleness and that loping ride and that lovely pointy nuanced handling that the 2008 always had. And here we have the best seats in its class, this great little pointy steering wheel, fantastic vision, and really, really good packaging. Like, this is a car CX3 size, perhaps even smaller, with better back seat room. In terms of pure practicality, nothing beats the Peugeot 2008 in this group. The thing is, it also has the S-Cross syndrome, in that where it's had the front facelifted, I don't think that it's entirely successful. It doesn't look particularly French. The LED lights just look a bit awkward, and it's such a shame that a car this great doesn't have the brave appearance of the CHR to go with it. If it did, it would probably win this by a significant margin. Instead, we're left with something that just looks a bit old. The beauty of being late to the SUV party is that you can kind of set your own agenda, having seen what everybody else has done, and that's exactly what Toyota has done here. The CHR is a coupe SUV, even though it actually has enough room for 4 or 5 at a pinch. What it's really about, though, is the front end of the car, the styling of the front, the seating in the front of the car. It's a two-person car that is fun to drive, smooth, and has this polish that is very rare in a Toyota. The 86 has it, and the CHR has it too. It also has the bones to be able to make a really great sporting version, in that this thing has way more chassis than it does engine. But the engine's a real little sweetie, the CVT is really amenable, the ride is really good, even on 18-inch wheels. And while everybody doesn't like the styling of it, particularly the rear that looks kind of like the last Celica did, it stands out from the crowd, and it's brave, and that is something you never associate with a Toyota, and that's something that you have to love.